long. Hopefully y'all can hear me. Um, things, things that I want to address, get out there. Let me see how everything is looking on my end. Well, I guess it's looking. Okay, there we go. Hopefully y'all can hear me. All right, let me copy this link real fast. And I'm gonna be off. Really ain't waiting on no audience, specific audience per se. Um, I'm just gonna post all this in. All right, what we got here? I just want to go ahead and get to it, and maybe, hopefully, we can have some edification. What we got here, dealing with America, we actually have our own doctrine here in America, and this is very important to know. Um, we, I'm just talking about for the people who grew up in the Western world. We grew up in the Western world, so we automatically have a Western mindset, no matter how you want to get around it. Our experiences and stuff pretty much controls the way that we read the Bible. The only difference is, or the big problem with it is, the Bible itself is an Eastern work. So it was created during a time period where their culture norm was how they used to express themselves and etc. So let me tell you the importance of that. Okay, I have two books here, right? I have a book right here, right? And I have a book right here. And what these books do, they actually explain the idioms used in the Bible. Because a lot of us take some of the things that's being said and being explained at face value. We westernize it because our language, especially dealing with books, we look at them more real based or literal, unless we know the specific genre that they was made for. Like for instance, we don't open up a Harry Potter book. First of all, it's sorcery anyway. But we don't open up a Harry Potter book and try to make it realistically or realistic. But who knows what's going to happen thousands of years from now? As religions expand and stuff, they might actually look at a Harry Potter book and try to make it be realistic. This is pretty much what a lot of us do with the Bible. Not saying the Bible doesn't have real things in it, because of course it does, but it's what we do with the Bible. It kind of destroys it. So I just want to go through some of the. And forgive me, y'all. I got a cold and stuff, so just work with me. But I want to go through some of the things that we might dealing with the Bible, because we look at it from a Western mindset. So let's try to get through it. First of all, I'm going to open up my idioms in the Bible explained. Right, I'm going to open it up, and I'm just going to walk through some of it. Let's walk through the book of Genesis. So this guy right here, he was raised in the Eastern world. He found out, he actually documented some of the Eastern terminology and idioms that they know actually what the Bible was saying compared to what we have over here in the Eastern or in the Western world. So I'm just gonna go through some of the things that he brings out, and then I'm going to show you. Then I'm going to explain this covenant thing. But Genesis 1 and 3. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. All right. Face value. We got heaven and earth form. It was So the Most High decided to make some laws for us to see, or for mankind to see. Well, once you go right here to the first idiom, let there be light, Genesis 1 and 3. All right, let there be light. It means let there be enlightenment, let there be understanding. Genesis 1 and 4. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. Genesis 1 and 4. Ignorance, lack of enlightenment and understanding. So, if you're looking at it from face value, it looks like it's talking about the creation of the world or the planet. If you actually look at it from the Eastern value, where you see that they're actually going more into understanding or a covenant, have to be in covenant with the Most High. So now you go to Genesis 2 and 8, right? Genesis 2 and 8, it says, And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he formed. Garden is metaphorically a wife or a family. So now we go to Genesis 2 and 9. And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every plant that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Okay, this is an idiom. The tree of life in the midst of a garden is an idiom for sex, posterity, and progeny. Once again, sex, posterity, and progeny. We're going to keep reading. I'm going to read just a little bit further, and then I'm going to show you exactly what was going on here. 2 and 9, the tree of moral law, of good and evil. So now, we see here that on face value, right? Face value, the Most High created two trees in the Garden of Eden. Once again, on face value, the Most High created two trees in the Garden of Eden. But now we understand, or we should understand, that these are idioms. What it was saying is, the Most High gave man a family. He gave them happiness so they could procreate and all of that stuff. So either they had to live the freedom of being happy with your family, or you had moral laws, which was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The moral laws. And this was the point right here. And let me walk through Genesis 2 and 15. And the Lord took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And the Lord commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat. So understand, mankind was free to partake of any tree in the garden. And we just read here that the tree in the midst of the garden is progeny, prosperity, posterity, sex, and etc. Things used to make a family. So mankind was free to do the Most High's will and populate, multiply, and etc. But knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. So you see, the opposite was, okay, either you can choose freedom or you can choose moral laws. Now, the moral laws, hold on. No. Is that popcorn? Oh, yeah, that'll work. Okay. I'll be in a second. The moral laws brought forth death. So, This should already let you know. The plan of the Most High wasn't to give mankind laws. The plan of the Most High was for mankind to trust His words and live, not have to worry about the moral laws that came from the Most High. He just wanted them to be faithful, be righteous, to believe. That's all He required. And that's why people happened on in the New Testament when Paul and all them came around, because they was telling you, hey, have faith, believe, be righteous. It was counted toward Abraham because he believed the Father. That's all. He didn't have to do 613 laws, which Israel brought on themselves. They partook of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Meanwhile, the Most High was trying to give them the tree of life, which was just be fruitful and multiply and believe on my word. But it actually says it here if you actually can get past your carnality and actually read what was going on. But of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest of it, thou shalt surely die. Now listen what happened. Genesis 3, and we're going to go to 3:1. A serpent is an enemy or deception. So now, Genesis 3, and let's start at 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree in the garden? So this is what the temptation comes in at, rephrasing the words. And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. So now, either she heard it from the Most High. Am I born again? Yes. Yes, I am. But now, either she heard it from the Most High or Adam told her. So here, we don't have any proof that she was there. So we can only believe that she was saying what Adam told her. So she knew the rules, secondhand information. So now, right? And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For God do know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. So understand that knowing the moral laws gives you a higher spiritual knowledge. That knowledge wasn't what the Most High was requiring for you to know. Okay? It was the things that he knew in order to establish his heavenly kingdom. This is what they had, their heavenly standards. The gods in the heavenly realm had a strict law compared to what he wanted humanity to be like. So now, it tells you, now listen to right here. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. She wanted wisdom. Okay? Tree of knowledge of good and evil was wisdom. Okay? And we see here that it actually represented the moral laws. So morally, you will be wise. All about self-righteousness. Wisdom brings you self-righteousness. So the Most High did not want you to have that self-righteousness. You did not need that wisdom. He wanted you to be free. So now, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and she gave it unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them were both open. Let's see if we have it in there right there. Okay, we don't. And the eyes of them were both open. They knew And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. So now we have it right here that after they gained wisdom, they looked upon the state that the Most High had put them in, and they chose, and they decided that it was not a pleasant state. They decided themselves that we don't like this state. The state that we're in, that the Father had us in, we don't like it. So then they tried to create their own state, which is them putting. So now they're trying to alter what the Most High did in order to please themselves, not the Most High. So now, gaining this moral law, gaining this morality, now they're deciding to do what they want to do. So now let's keep going. And the Lord, let me see here. Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. So now they are running from the Most High. So, and look at some of these things that he did when he cursed the woman. And I will put enmity between thee and between thee and the woman, between thy seed and her seed, which is a foreshadow of Christ. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. And unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. Listen to what he said. I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. So, in Genesis, before they got the moral law, we just read as an idiom for the moral law, before they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they did not have sorrows, right? So now, this was a curse. Sorrow was a curse. So once you go back into Revelation 22. Revelation 22, and once you read verse 2, and in the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves of the trees were for the healing of the nation. So first of all, they are in the midst of the tree of life, right? So we know that they are back in the Garden of Eden. Once again, they're back in the Garden of Eden. That's one thing to understand. So now, the only difference is, now they're in the Garden of Eden, they don't have the tree of knowledge of good and evil now. They have two trees on both sides, and both of the trees are the tree of life. In the beginning, they had a tree of life, and then they had the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But first, okay, I'm just getting there. That they are in the Garden of Eden again. Okay. You go to Revelation 21, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and first earth was passed away, and there were no more sea. So now we are back with creation. They're back into the Garden of Eden. But I want to go down to verse 4. Revelation 21 and 4. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow. Once again, in the new heavens and the new earth, which was the new covenant, but in the new heavens and the new earth, listen to the words, marinate on the words. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. See, what people do, they try to Americanize, Westernize the scriptures and say, hey, as long as I'm still crying, we can't be in the new heavens and earth. Cause you see, I got tears coming, and things still make me sad, so I can't be in the new heavens and the new earth. Listen to what's going on actually if you pay attention to the Hebraic mindset instead of the Western mindset or our American mindset. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. There shall be no more death, neither sorrow. Okay, so they back in the garden, and he said, now there will be no more death, neither sorrow. Why? The tree of knowledge of good and evil is gone. They have got rid of the curse. This is the curse. Genesis 3. The curse to the woman. And upon the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow. This was a curse in the garden. Now they're back in the garden. There should be neither death nor sorrow. Where did the death come from? Genesis 2. Genesis 2 and 17. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof of it, thou shalt surely die. So we have a curse of death. Tree, that day he died. That was brought on death. Ate from the tree. The woman is full of sorrow now. That brings on sorrow. So we have death and sorrow because of the curse in the garden. Now we're back in the garden of Revelation, and we don't have death and sorrow no more. They're gone now. Okay, so now, neither nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. So let's go back to Genesis 3 and see what's going on. And in the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and the desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree which of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. So now you see, Adam was cursed with sorrow. Eve was cursed with sorrow. Eve was cursed with sorrow at her conception, and pretty much in her having to look forward to the husband for everything, him ruling over her instead of the Most High ruling over her. Let's see what else. Thorn and thistles shall it bring forth to thee. Let's see what the thorns and thistles mean. Thorns and thistles. This is Genesis 3. Grievances and difficulties. So it means grievances and difficulties. So we got grievances and difficulties. Shall bring it forth to thee, and thou shalt eat of the herb of the field. And in thy sweat of thy face thou shalt eat bread, and thou till thou return into the ground, death. For out of it was thou taken, for dust thou art, and to dust thou shalt return. So now we have Eve getting cursed with sorrow. We have Adam being cursed with sorrow. We have Eve being cursed with death. We have Adam being cursed with death. Okay, so all of these was curses, right? We got the crying. We got the pain. All of this stuff, the sweat in our face, to till the earth, as it says here, the grievances and difficulties, all of these things was because Adam ate from the morning. Now, Revelation 20, I shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. What was the former things? You go to Revelation 21 and 1. I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth was passed away. The former things was the things that happened on the first heaven and the first earth, dealing with them getting the moral laws and all of that stuff. So now, that has passed away, and as he sat upon the throne, and he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, write, for these words are true and faithful. So you see, I make all things new. What Revelation? New heaven and a new earth. So this all is saying that he made a new covenant because the old covenant was passed away. Verse 6, and he said unto me, it is done. It is over with. It is completed. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. This is exactly what Christ said, right? John 7:37. John 7:37. See, a lot of people, they mistake all of this stuff going on in Revelation, trying to make it so literal, and they don't understand all the spirituality behind it. This is just Christ re-preaching his testimony, his teachings. He's reteaching the gospel. Only difference is, in Revelation, it's seen in vision form. So instead of seeing the words, you see more symbolic meaning behind it. So now, Revelation 7:37. And in the last day, the great day of the feast, Jesus stood up and cried, saying, if any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. He that believeth on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. You go back to Revelation 21, and he said unto me, it is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. See? Overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. New covenant promise. And what does it say? There should be no more curse. That doesn't. Maybe Revelation 22. Boom, boom, boom. Prophecy. I don't know where it's at. I could Google it real fast, but you can look it up. It's in Revelation. After this, he said, "And there will be no more curse." To let you know that the curses is finna end. There's no curses in the new covenant. All things. Let me see here. I don't know where it's at. It's in there somewhere. But you have here Revelation 22 and 17. And in the spirit and the bride say, come. And let him that heareth say, come. And let him that athirst come. And whosoever will let him take of the water of life freely. This was Christ. So now we see that the Revelation actually ended with the new covenant coming in. Okay? That's all it is. The new covenant coming in. You get in the spirit. And Christ tells you what the Spirit is in John 6:63. It is the Spirit that quickeneth, which means make alive, resurrection. The flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. The words, the gospel that Christ spoke was the spirit, it was the life. You believe on Christ, you believe on his word, you get his spirit. The Spirit brings forth life. That's the point of the Bible. That's the point of Revelation, and etc. Revelation was about them fleeing into the mountains when Rome came to destroy Jerusalem because of that, the riots that they was doing when they was trying to go against the taxation of Rome and etc. So Rome came in to destroy Jerusalem. Christ said, once you see him compassed with armies, flee into the mountains. The people that believed Christ went into the mountains. The people who didn't believe Christ, they stayed behind. And this is how the Most High worked, actually. He let Jerusalem be destroyed during a feast. Once again, he let Jerusalem be destroyed during a feast. So, he let Israel make a decision. Okay. Is you going to trust Moses, the law of Moses, the feast days, all the things pertaining to Moses, are you going to trust Moses or are you going to trust my son? See, even the father, he made it plain and clear. They had a choice to choose. And everybody that chose Moses was either killed or taken into captivity. And everybody that listened to Christ and fled into the mountains were actually saved. They was written in the book of life, and they was able to spread the gospel abroad. That's the point. And they don't tell you this. Why they try to get you wrapped up in the camps and all that stuff, they don't tell you this. Why come they don't tell you that Rome seized Jerusalem during the feast day? And the people following the law of Moses was actually the ones that got killed, was actually the ones that was taken captive. And the people that actually fled into the mountains, you remember they told you that, hey, you're from Israel. In fact, let me see. Hold on. Sorry. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I got it right here. Babylon to Timbuktu. This is our go-to. I don't know if I can find it offhand. Well, I actually turned to it. Well, no marker or anything, but Babylon to Timbuktu. Thousands of Jews migrated to Egypt and Arabia when the Roman general Titus destroyed in AD 70. So we have Titus destroying Jerusalem in AD 70 when thousands of Jews migrated into Egypt. So we got that. That's page 40, right? And it's one that said when they a million fled into the mountains and stuff. I mean, that's one though, but y'all know it's in there because they quote it all the time. But they fled into the mountains in 70 AD. Here we go, right here, page 84. I'm turning to it today. There you go, right there. And in the year 65 BC, now notice these dates, 65 BC, the Roman army under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. So that's 65 BC. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. So Jewish state, Jerusalem was destroyed. 70 AD. Jerusalem destroyed. This is a judgment. Judgment on Jerusalem. This is what they call Judgment Day. This is what happened in the book of Revelation, actually. This literally is what the book of Revelation is talking about. In AD 70, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. So this will be the beast in Revelation. Many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people during the period from Pompey to Julius. So this is from 65 BC to 70 AD. So not just 70 AD, it was the whole stretch, about 100 years or so. Well, over 105 years. But anyway, during the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa from fleeing from the Roman persecution and slavery. The slave market was full of the black Jewish slaves. Got that right there? Babylon to Timbuktu, right? So they'll tell you that point, right? But they won't tell you why and when this happened. This actually happened during the feast day. And the people that fled are the people that listened to Christ, who said, we're not going to listen to Moses. We're not going to stay here. We're not going to do the feast days. We're going to believe Christ. We're going to flee into the mountains. So even for people that try to promote feast days today, they don't even understand how their ancestors, if they say they are Israel, they don't understand how their ancestors had to actually go against the law of Moses in order to be saved, which is what the salvation was about. And the thief in the night, this was about the Roman army coming to destroy Jerusalem. This is all what this is about. I'm not going to sit here and fantasize the Bible or make stuff up like people do, or try to Americanize it or modernize it. That's not what was going on in the Bible. The last prophecy was Jerusalem being destroyed by Rome. Okay? They did not know the day or the hour. They just knew that the destruction was going to come. And as we read in Babylon to Timbuktu, they put an end, that means they wiped it out, to the Jewish state. These are the same Jews that killed Christ, killed the disciples, killed the prophets, the apostles, was making it hard for the church to expand abroad and all that stuff. These same people who were supposed to be the children of God, these people, that final wrath was coming upon those people. They the ones that killed the church. They was trying to destroy the church. And the point was for Christ to expand the church, to expand the kingdom, the heavenly kingdom, which is the church embodiment. He was supposed to expand the church, and we have the Jews using the law of Moses to kill the church. So the Father just said, nah, wipe that whole covenant out. I'm going to give them a new covenant. Take those people. We're going to wipe those people out. And of those people that choose you, out of that bloodline that choose you, son, we're going to let them live, and then they can spread the gospel, and etc. And this is what happened. So even them telling you to do the law of Moses today is kind of ridiculous. Very, very much ridiculous. But that was one thing. What else was the thing that the brother asked me? Okay, the gathering, everybody. For the people that's waiting on this future gathering, all right? And I'm not going to read it out the Septuagint, because the Septuagint words it totally different. But I want to use the Masoretic to actually explain to you the gathering. Now, the Septuagint says it differently, but you can actually go into the New Testament and it actually explains it more thoroughly. But I want to use the Masoretic right now. Let's talk about this mysterious gathering that people are waiting on. Okay? This gathering. You go to Genesis 49. And we overlook certain things. So, let me see, make sure I got volume. What else was the thing that your brother asked? Okay. We overlook certain things. Genesis 49 and 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. So he's finna give them a prophecy about each one of their people, each one of their descendants, what's going to happen to them. And what people do is they skip over what happened in history and jump into our timeline. But I'm not going to do that. And some of these things are harder to find because the Northern Kingdom actually was their information was lost. They stopped having written documentations about what they was going through. The Southern Kingdom didn't, so you can use the Southern Kingdom information, and it got to correlate with the Northern Kingdom. But anyway, listen to what Genesis 49 and 10 say. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes. So now we have the first part of it. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet. Okay. When did the king and the priest stop ruling and reigning of Judah? Well, you can actually find this in the New Testament. Excuse me. After the Roman army destroyed Jerusalem, which happened in the 1st century, the same generation of Christ, there was no more priests or kings in Jerusalem. So that's one thing right there that proves that, first of all, the Bible has to go past Torah. The Bible has to go past Malachi. So that stops the Old Testament only, Torah only. That stops that, okay? A scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be. So now, the gathering of the people would be until this Shiloh character, okay? The gathering was going to be unto him, okay? It wasn't going to be unto the land of Israel. Once again, it wasn't going to be in the land of Israel. He didn't say, I'm going to gather you and bring you back into Israel. That's not what he said, okay? In the last days, the gathering was going to be into Shiloh. Okay, so we go to Ephesians 1 and 10. Ephesians 1 and 10. Ephesians 1 and 10, this is what it says. Let's start at 9. Having made known unto us the mystery of his will, according to his good pleasure, which he had purposed in himself, that in the dispensation of the fullness of times, he might gather together in one all things in Christ, both which are in heaven and which are on earth, even in him. So now we see that Christ, all things was going to gather in him. That was the point. That was the plan. That was the mystery. All things were going to gather in Christ. Okay? So we can go to, I think it's 1 Thessalonians. Hold on. So 2 Thessalonians. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 1. This is what it says. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and by our gathering together unto him. By our gathering together unto him. Okay? The gathering was into Christ. Okay? Everybody knew that the gathering was into Christ. So you can't come 2,000 years later talking about something you waiting on the gathering. How can things be fulfilled? When we're going to be gathered back together in Israel? When is Christ going to come pick us up and scoop us up in a spaceship and take us over there to Israel? That's not what the prophecy says. Nobody was waiting on that. I'm telling people there's a difference between what the inspired people were saying and what we're saying in America today. It's a big difference, okay? We have what we call a new gospel. No matter how people want to coin it, no matter how they want to Americanize it or Westernize it or modernize it, it's a new gospel. People have created all these camps based off of new doctrines. These are new gospels, y'all. We don't need things to be in our future anyway. We're in the new covenant. We're back into the Garden of Eden again, where we're supposed to live freely, supposed to believe on the word, which is Christ. We're supposed to believe on the word of the Most High. That's all he wanted. And then believe on his word, have faith. That's pretty much it. You had to be baptized and all that stuff. But there was all, foreshadows of the Spirit and all that stuff. But the point is, it was simple. He made it simple to be in a relationship with him. People just want to westernize it. Excuse me, y'all. Give me one sec. I hate this code. But people want to westernize it. So, the gathering was in Christ. The gathering was at the full of time, and all things on heaven and earth was going to be gathered unto him, which is what Daniel was talking about, that the Son of Man was going to receive an everlasting kingdom. And all nations, kingdom, languages, and tongues was going to come in and serve him. This is what's going on in Ephesians. Everybody's being gathered together in Christ. And it happened at the fullness of times. And we read in let me try to Galatians 4 and 4. But when the fullness of the time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the adoptions of sons. And because you are sons, God has sent forth the Spirit of his Son into your hearts, crying, Abba and Father. Sorry. But yeah, that's what it was. So my allergies is messing with me. I'm going to go and cut this off before I get crazy in here. These allergies. So hopefully that answered all your questions. Just keep going. Shalom.